Amaro Jr. spent 8 years as a Major League Baseball player and another 7 as the general manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. But now he's putting his time and effort into a reimagined version of the game called Sluggball. Mr. Amaro joins me now to talk about this new endeavor. Ruben, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for taking the time this morning.
Absolutely, Mike, and happy to be with you. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. So let me start by asking, how did you come up with this concept and what was the motivation behind it?
Well, I mean, the baseball had a problem, and the biggest problem was that there was no baseball after baseball, and that's really what we were trying to get here. One of those situations where there were other activities that people were doing, 3v3 basketball and top golf and that sort of thing, but for baseball there was really nothing, and we felt like there should be something, for those who played competitively at some point, either in high school or college. And then afterwards didn't really have a place to play. I mean, softball they could play, but we felt like there was a game to play and a competition to have with this Sluggball, and we felt like this is the right way to do it.
Now, Sluggball includes elements of baseball, but it has its own unique spin. Can you talk to us about the similarities and the main differences?
So it's 4v4 baseball, basically, and it's just being able to handle the bat and control the bat. And you're not playing defense. You're not running the bases. It's the most fun part of the game, we feel, like hitting the baseball. And it's also a skill level that, I think people can work on. It's not about hitting the ball out of the ballpark. It's about controlling the bat and swinging the bat such that you hit it into certain areas of the field. A little bit old school, little situational baseball, and I think the competition, the camaraderie that's associated with it, I think it's something that's really fun. I mean, you can get 4 of your buddies out there and just like a round of golf and have some fun with it.
So now, is there a certain level of talent among the players, or can anybody do this?
I think anybody can do it. You just have to have the ability to make hard contact to certain parts of the field. And there's an art and a skill to hitting. It's one of the most difficult things to do, but you bring your own batting practice pitcher. That's a very important part of it. You bring your own batting practice pitcher, and he has to have that, or she has to have that ability to throw the ball where you need to have it thrown so that you can make contact to different areas of the field, whether it's the opposite way towards the center of the field or to the pull side. And if you have that skill level and you have the ability to do that, then you can have some success. You don't necessarily have to hit the ball out of the ballpark. We don't necessarily want to have this be a home run derby. It's really situational hitting and being able to control the bat and control the barrel.
Now, you touched on this a little bit before. From what I've read, Sluggball is more than just a game. It's a way to create bonds with other people. Can you talk a little about that?
I mean, it's one of those situations where it's, we feel like there's the camaraderie and the things that the people that we've talked to who have actually played the game, they feel like they're back in a clubhouse or they're back on the field competing with their buddies again, whether it was in high school level or collegiate level or even at the professional level. We feel like this is a way for guys to get together, have a beverage, have a hot dog, and just play the game of baseball and swing the bat. Again, one of the most fun things to do in baseball is to swing the bat, and you can do it with your buddies and have that camaraderie and that feel of competing against another team.
It's like golfing with your buddies, basically. You bring a beer, you have fun, and it's this for baseball, which is great. You get to continue the sport. Now, the debut schedule includes 6 games, one every month from May to October. A couple of those games will be at the Trenton Thunder Ballpark. You guys also had a pilot event there back in September. In addition to Trenton, you have events in Staten Island, New York, and Ohio. How did you guys decide on these ballparks for the inaugural season?
Well, we sort of wanted to scale it slowly, and we wanted to make sure that we did it in areas that we felt like would be supportive of us, and it's been great. We've had great relationships with the folks, and putting them in minor league ballparks, I think, was the right thing to do, at least at the beginning, at the outset. And we really just feel like, this will be in an environment where people would love to go play. They get to do it in a solid stadium. And until we get to the point where we can scale it higher, maybe at some point we get to do this at major league fields. But we feel like this is the right start for us and see how it grows.
Now, we are a Jersey-based station, as you know, so I have to ask, what can we expect at Trenton Thunder Ballpark this year?
Well, I think Trenton's actually been a great venue. Obviously, it's one of those places where I know that I lived in that neighborhood, not far from there, for many years in Yardley, Pennsylvania, just over the water there, and it's a great venue. I know that it's a place that people love to go. They put a great program together, both professionally and with regard to at times when they've had the pre-draft type of stuff. But it's a great place to bring your family, and hopefully people get an opportunity to enjoy it.
Now, you have experience as both a former player with hands-on experience and as a general manager who's kind of looking on the outside, or kind of on the outside looking in. How have both roles prepared you for Sluggball?
I just think that to me, it's about entertainment. Obviously, competition's important to us, and I think that's always been important as an athlete and someone who has worked in the front office. But the bottom line is this: baseball is supposed to be fun, and we want to create an entertaining product for people to enjoy the game. And I think that we've sort of gotten away from the old school type of baseball where you're just hitting the baseball in certain areas of the field. People have gone to a long ball type of a approach, and there's a lot of strikeouts in the game. There's a lot of walks and a lot of home runs, but there's not the action that is created by controlling the bat. And I think that part of it is something that has really appealed to me and something that I think people will enjoy doing.
I do too. Now, speaking of former players, another advisor you have working with you was one of my favorite players growing up, Kenny Lofton, a six-time All-Star, borderline Hall of Famer, who you played with on that monstrous '95 Cleveland Indians team. I know you guys go way back. What kind of expertise does Lofton bring to this game?
Well, I mean, that was sort of part of his game. I mean, he was a situational type hitter. I mean, he was one of those guys who would get on base, steal a base, create some action on the field. And I think that was something that appealed to him as well when we approached the MLBPAA. I mean, it was a very seemed like a great symmetry for a player of this caliber and the player that played this type of a game to be able to help be part of this. Kenny, great athlete. Did a lot of awesome things on the field defensively with his legs, but also controlled the bat. Was a great bunter. He could utilize the entire field, and I think this is something that appealed to him as well.
Yeah, he was a great player. Now, I know you have a lot of people working for you. You also have a lot of partnerships. So the sport has drawn a lot of attention. What are you guys doing to help make it grow?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a great team of PR folks, and it's going to be word of mouth, but I think the PR folks have done a heck of a job of at least trying to get our message out. And this is about creating baseball after baseball and creating a situation where people can enjoy playing baseball after they finish playing in some sort of competitive level. We'll continue to try to promote it as much as we can, but the bottom line is that people have to enjoy it, and hopefully it'll grow. But we do feel like it is one of those games that helps promote the game of baseball, number one, and helps promote the ability for people to have another activity to enjoy besides some of the activities that are out there for folks in that demographic, somewhere between 20 years of age and maybe 45, who want to get back on the field and do some things with the bat.
And I know it's still a very new concept, but do you think Sluggball has the potential to become a national phenomenon?
I mean, obviously that'd be the goal, but that'll be up to the folks who get an opportunity to participate in it. We hope that it grows in that way. We're going to start and scale it hopefully properly in a controlled environment, but we're certainly hopeful that it catches on. We think that there's millions and millions of people who can play competitively at the high school or collegiate level and are no longer doing it, and maybe this gives them an opportunity to enjoy it.
Well, speaking of participation, for those who want to join the league, where can they go to do that?
So they can go to playsluggball.com and they can register there. They not only can they do that, but if they want to bring family and friends, they can bring them and have them watch as well. There's a variety of things. There'll be food for them. There'll be different, drinks and such. So I think it could be a family type of an outing if they want to make it so, or it could just be a competition with the team that you build, probably 6 to 8 players. You have to bring your own pitching, batting practice pitcher, and hopefully some guys who can handle the bat and skill with a skill to be able to move the ball around the field.
I'm looking forward to it. Ruben Amaro Jr., baseball royalty and co-founder of Sluggball. Thanks so much for taking the time this morning.
Mike, thanks so much for having us, and hopefully we can you get a chance to at some point give yourself a chance to play, get a team together. Maybe you can get a team together and come on out to Trenton.
I would love to put my 39-year-old body to the test. I'll take you up on that. Thanks so much. Head over to ONNJ.com for the latest news and sports anytime. Joining me now is a golf legend in the state of New Jersey. Scott Parrish, the director of golf at the Plainfield Country Club in Edison, was just honored with the PGA of America Golf Professional of the Year Award for his commitment and contributions to the sport. We are happy to have him on this morning. Scott, a big congratulations, and thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me, especially with all the snow on the ground, but the season will be here quickly. Thanks for having me.
Sooner than we think. So, Scott, let's first go back to the beginning. How did you get involved with golf, and how did that journey lead you on a path towards becoming the director of golf at the Plainfield Country Club in Edison?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, I just initially dabbled with the game with friends, and my dad really didn't start playing until my mid-teens. But there were, I guess, three things that kind of set me on this career pathway. And the first was the first job that I really enjoyed. I worked for a guy named John Wheatley, who was a club maker, and I'm dating myself a little bit because this is back persimmon drivers, but I just loved it. I was around good players and some professionals. The second thing that happened was a golf lesson with a guy named Mitchell Spearman. He was David Ledbetter's right-hand man, and he did an unbelievable job explaining cause and effect, the ball flight laws, and using video, and really had an impact on me. And then the third thing was I was with a friend driving by the Aronimink Golf Club down in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. And I asked them to turn in, and there was just something about the place, the clubhouse, the amazing golf course. And somehow I was hired as an entry-level assistant there a few months after that, happenstance drive-by. And those three things are probably the things that just kind of pointed me down this direction.
Now, other than your dad, did you have any inspirations, like favorite players growing up, or any events you watched as a kid that you still remember well?
I was really playing all the other sports, baseball, soccer. I was a skier. So I didn't pay much attention to golf until my dad took me to the Greater Hartford Open. I grew up in Connecticut, and what's now called the Travelers. And somehow we got following Freddie Couples. We didn't know who Freddie Couples was before we got there. It might have been his rookie year, maybe his second year. And he was about as cool as they come. People still say that today, and he just bombed it. So there was something about that inspired me. And then I think, like a lot of other people, that 86 Masters with Jack, I was early in my college years, and I'll never forget watching that back nine. That was incredible. I still love it when reruns come back on of that 86 Masters.
He is a legend. Now, you've been working at the Plainfield Country Club since 1997. You've held the director position since 2006. You obviously enjoy what you do. What makes working there so special?
So there's a few things. For starters, like a lot of people, the golf course is what attracted me to come here. It's an amazing golf course, fun to play every day, special place for championships and competitions, and it's just gotten better and better over the years. So the golf course is part of it. My role has evolved, and there's been a lot of variety to it over the years. So between the championships we've hosted and a lot of other responsibilities they've asked me to take on over the years, so it's been fun. And then I would just say the people. I know it sounds a little cliche, but this is like a family for me. The membership here is a really, really special group of people, and it's just been fantastic to be around them. They've been so good to me and my family for all the years I've been here.
Now, speaking of hosting, you had two PGA Tour FedEx Cup playoff events at the Country Club, one in 2011, the other in 2015. That's pretty cool. How were you able to make that happen, and how special was it to see those events unfold?
It was very special. We had had some conversations with the PGA Tour early in the 2000s. And in a nice way, they said thanks, but no thanks. We just weren't ready as far as the golf course restoration work. We were really overplanted from a tree standpoint, so they couldn't get spectators around the property. And thanks to Gil Hance's renovation plan, the property got cleared out, and the golf course just kept getting better, better and better. And I remember our board saying, Scott, see if you can get him to come back here and have a visit. And the director of that event, his name is Peter Mealy. I'll never forget his reaction. I got him to the second tee where you could just see basically the entire property. And he just started chuckling. He's like, I got some work to do. They're not going to believe that my answer on whether we can host in a championship here or not has changed. So that led to us getting the events assigned here. And the other big thing we had to overcome was the logistics. It's a smaller piece of property relative to most of the venues. We had plans on how we were going to handle the parking, the spectator flow. We had to close a road to get people to our driving range, which we actually set up at the West Nine, the little golf course across the street. So a lot of it was just anticipating the challenges that we had to overcome. And it was fantastic. Two really, really special events.
That is great. Now, you've impacted a lot of lives in the golf world. One of your big areas of focus is mentorship. How rewarding does it feel to watch people grow in this sport, knowing that you had something to do with it?
It's probably the favorite thing that I do. And it's a group effort. Our members have helped with that. But, I think great leaders help people realize their potential and they make them better. And I'm one that benefited tremendously from a long list of mentors who believed in me and took an interest in me. So it's been really special to have several of our past assistants or head professionals in New Jersey now, all around the country, really, and other areas. Some of them are directors of instruction, and it goes beyond the golf department here too. We've really enjoyed helping some of our superintendents and clubhouse staff, and I just love it. I love seeing them better their lives and impact others, and they're doing it too.
Love to hear it. So in addition to mentoring people, you do volunteer work. You've been a longtime board member for the New Jersey PGA section and the New Jersey Golf Foundation. Can you tell us about your commitment to volunteering and the impact of the foundation?
Yeah, so early on, I was just involved in some committees with the New Jersey PGA, and some of the guys asked me if I would get more involved, and eventually was asked to be on the board. And I remember them talking about our need to start a foundation. I had no idea what they were talking about and how impactful it could be. But, some of our really early board members back in the late 90s and early 2000s were the ones that had this vision. And we kept pushing it through, taking their vision. And now the things they're doing for their three pillars, the military, the youth, and special needs, it's really, really special. It's emotional. We've had a special needs event or two at the West Nine across the street, a bunch of junior golf stuff here, the stuff they're doing at the Inspiration Golf Range for our military. It's spectacular. So it's really been rewarding and really fun to be involved with.
And Scott, last question. How does it feel knowing all the commitment you made to this sport has culminated in this award?
I'm still getting my arms around it. It's still sinking in. I never look to earn awards. I've just been doing my job and trying to get better each year. That's something we talk about a lot here, is just trying to get a little better each year. But it's a result of a ton of teamwork. I have been so blessed to work with a long list of amazing teammates here at the club. And the membership's been incredibly supportive. And then my peers around the industry who I've been looking up to for years. I can't believe it, to answer your question.
Well, Scott, congratulations. You do deserve it. It was a pleasure talking to you this morning. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to another great golf season.
Head over to ONNJ.com for the latest news and sports anytime. Joining me now is the head coach of women's lacrosse at Kean University. She's entering her second year with the program, and it's her first time on this show. Sarah Lawshe, thanks so much for coming on this morning.
Hi, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
It's our pleasure. So let's go back to the beginning. Talk to me about how you first got into women's lacrosse and how it led you on a path towards Kean University.
Sure. So I played lacrosse growing up. I started in middle school. I went to college for lacrosse. I went to Shippensburg University, which is a D2 Pennsylvania state school. After college, I went back to grad school at Wilkes University. There, I was a grad assistant coach. And then in 2019, I was elevated to head coach there at Wilkes. In 2021, I moved to New Jersey and I took the assistant coach job at Montclair State. And then in 2023, came here to Kean.
Fantastic journey. Now, like you said, you've taken part in lacrosse programs at several colleges, whether as a player, a coach, a recruiter. What separates Kean from those other schools? Is there anything that makes Kean University stand out above the rest?
I would say the level of support here at Kean is what makes us stick out. From the athletic directors to the athletic trainers, the academic support, the sport and conditioning staff, everyone works very collaboratively with myself and my athletes. So it just feels very cohesive from all fronts.
Now, this is your second year coaching with the women's lacrosse team at Kean University. What are some of the things you learned in your first year that you'll take with you into your second year?
I learned a lot of things my first year. First year is always the hardest because the athletes are learning how you coach, they're learning your communication style, you're learning about each and every athlete, what they respond best to. So first year, there's a big learning curve. I would say the number one thing I would take going into next year is understanding that athletes today are really seeking a collaborative environment from college athletics, which is different from when I was in school. So athletes want to have a say in what goes on in their college athletics experience. So as coaches, we kind of have to learn what we can have their input on and what needs to remain just strictly coaching staff.
Now, speaking of athletes, I had the privilege of interviewing Savannah Olson back in May after she won Conference Rookie of the Year. Who were some of your key players going into the season, and how different does the roster look from last year?
So Savannah Olson and a few of her other sophomore teammates are definitely our key returning players, that being Skylar Ray and Emily Schultz. Offensively, we do expect to see a lot from them. Defensively, we have returning Grace Michelli and Jen Koval. Both of those are seniors that were all conference players, so that'll be who we're looking to in the back end of the field. Since I was hired late September, a lot of my recruiting efforts from the previous years are now unfortunately at another school, so I was kind of late to the recruiting game here. But I was lucky enough to pick up a few good freshmen and 2 transfers as well. So we do have a few newcomers to the team. I would say overall it is more of a rebuilding year for us, but that is okay and that is expected because recruiting does take time.
All teams have to rebuild at some point. So talk to me about what your players do in terms of training, whether during the season or in the offseason, to try to stay a step above all the other teams.
We do strength conditioning all year round. So I myself am a strength conditioning coach. That's another job of mine. I'm a fitness instructor. So I understand how important strength training is. So we have a huge emphasis on it. We do it all year round. Other teams might take a break during season when they have games, but we still are weightlifting. We just might dial it back a bit.
Now, let me ask you this question. We've seen the beginning of a revolution in women's sports over the past year or two. The WNBA is more popular than it's ever been. The Professional Women's Hockey League just kicked off last year. Do you feel as though women's lacrosse is a part of that wave and that it continues to grow with each passing year?
Yes, actually. So just a few weeks ago, they announced that the WLL is something brand new coming out. It's a women's professional league, which is like a sister to the PLL. So that's the men's version that's already in existence. So that'll be nationally televised professional women's lacrosse games. And then in 2028, the Olympics are coming back. Women's lacrosse is in the Olympics. So that's also very exciting. I would say in today's world, social media definitely helps. A lot of the top college players, top college and professional players are creating a following. So it's putting more eyes on the sport.
It's fantastic. And I ask this question to every Kean coach I've ever interviewed. You teach them to be better athletes while they're in their uniforms. How do you teach them to be better people for the real world?
That's a good question. I like to say I do this sneakily or subliminally, so it's not so in their face. The biggest thing I do is ask them to volunteer their time. So, yes, they're busy college student athletes, they have a lot going on, but if they have any free time, I ask them to volunteer it. So, we are always putting on clinics, we're going to different events for local community organizations. So, that's my big thing, just asking for volunteer work. And then another thing that I do with them is like to prepare them for the workforce. So, just an example, a conversation I had with them the other day. If they need to miss practice, I want them to ask me permission to miss practice. Of course, it's going to be a yes from me, but just the act of asking for that time off is something they're going to have to do with an employer. They can't just not show up for work someday. So, it's small things like that that I think will help translate to work after graduation.
It's fantastic stuff. Sarah, thanks so much for taking the time this morning, and best of luck this season.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Of course. Head over to ONNJ.com for the latest news and sports anytime.